Good morning, all. It is 9 o'clock somewhere, so we'll bring our meeting to order. We'll start with our land acknowledgement. Martin, please.
Good morning, everyone. As we gather, we recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Six Nations of the Grand River, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and the Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people.
Thank you, Martin. Just before we get started, I want to maybe, Ken, would you introduce our new staff member, please?
Good morning, Your Worship and members of council. I'm pleased to introduce Xavi, and I'm sorry, I don't want to say your last name because I'm going to get it wrong. So maybe I'll let you say it so that I don't get it wrong. But Xavi is joining the planning team, joined as of Monday, and will be our acting planning coordinator, as our current planning coordinator will be embarking on her maternity leave in a couple of weeks' time. So it's nice to have Xavi here during a period where the two of them can overlap and learn, and then Xavi will be with us for about a year.
Very good. Well, welcome, Xavi. I hope I got that right.
Yes, it's Xavi Fernandez. What's it?
That's right.
There you go.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. And I will be filling in for Alicia while she's on mat leave.
Excellent. Again, thank you and welcome. So, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone registered for open forum?
We do, Mayor Milne. We have quite a few this morning, so I'll start with George DeAndre. Come up to the mic, George.
Welcome, sir. Come on up to the microphone. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Okay, I'll try to talk as fast as possible. Okay, because I have so many minutes. I'm here to respond to council regarding the bylaws and the ongoing changes that are occur and the stressfulness that it's causing me. Mental health, it's like right up there. All right, I just wanted to give you a background who I am. So I'm an Alaska Malamute breeder. I've been breeding Alaska Malamutes for 43 years. I am a life member of the Canadian Kennel Club. I am a life member also of the Alaska Malamute Club of Canada. I'm a member of the Owen Sound Kennel Club. I host a series of backpacking excursions within the community of Southgate for people to be active with their dogs. I have the highest rating in Canada of my breed for the best certifications of dogs. I worked very hard for 43 years to maintain an excellent breeding program. I have over 70 champions within Canada, the US, and internationally. My kennel name is also well recognized within the world. I'm amazed at how many people know me through Facebook of what I have done for the breed. Okay, I'm very passionate about this breed. I believe in quality. What do you call housing for these dogs? In doing so, what do you call? I'm just kind of like slightly nervous. Of what I wanted to say is that
we don't bite. So
okay, all right, cool. No problem. The council over the years since I've been here as a kennel in Southgate, I've seen a lot of changes. I started off at $25 up to $575. Then I also was very dismayed and upset with the fact that when I went to council to make my payment, I was told that I had an additional $475 to pay up front. And I said, what is this for? He said, it's now a new kennel fee. I said, what kennel fee are you talking about? He says, oh, I've never paid for this before. I've always paid my kennel license. Then they tried to tell me that I was very lucky that I had never paid for this before that I gotten away. That got my back right up there. I said, excuse me, sir, but this never was in place. I come here every single year. I was never given a letter by council stating there was an additional fee. In talking to the CEO, that was not recorded because the guy had told me that it was reported in the township newspaper. I went to the newspaper. It was never done. Okay, it didn't exist, but I was actually going to be charged for that extra fee. Everything that was dissolved. The kennel fees came down to $375. I had contacted every township in the community of Ontario, or as many as possible through my connections, and our fees were skyrocketed compared to anybody else. So I felt that council was totally out of touch with the reality of what was being charged. Okay. And then the whole time, though, when these changes were being made, at no given point were any of the council members was I approached, or any breeders within the community. I just feel that's a disservice to us, where there's a lack of respect with any business. You would seek out the guidance and support of the community before changes are made. In this case, nothing was ever said except being given. And then at the last minute, I was just received a letter a couple of days ago about there was another inspection from a company from Owen Sound. I thought, for the love of God, what the heck? When the council came out and said, hey, we want to provide a clear direction of how inspections are to be done and what is required from a breeder, I looked at it. It was totally okay. The only problem was when my vet came to my kennel for an inspection, she came out with her microchipped every single dog that I had, vaccinated every single dog, and did the wellness check on every single dog. That is not done for free. That's like a bill of $1,600 for her to come out, from Alora to come out to my kennel and physically on a grooming table inspected every single dog. Okay, she brought her assistant also. This goes beyond what council is requiring. That's a wellness check, making sure that the animal is healthy. Okay, and it's inspecting and make sure the dogs are properly vaccinated as required by council. Then to have somebody from Owen Sound to say, we're coming to inspect your kennel. I called him and I asked him a very blunt question. Are you a vet? Is there vets in your agency? Absolutely not. It means absolutely nothing to me or anybody in the dog community. I rather, as is stated before, was that you had a certified working vet come in and inspect your dogs. That is valid. To have Joe Blow, who's not even a vet, who just goes around catching dogs and responds, that is not where I'm at. That is bringing the bar so low for me that I just cannot understand why you would even hire somebody so far away. Plus they said, we'll charge gas and the time that's required. I thought, like, well, shouldn't that be coming out of the kennel fee? I really don't even think that one should exist, period. But I think that what you guys did put together was sound, was clear, and it was what it was for. Another aspect is when I was upset with the gentleman at the Southgate office was that I had asked him, well, what are these fees being used for? And he turned around and said to me, it's to catch the dogs running loose. That is not my responsibility. I have nothing to do with that. If people in town or in the country are having their dogs running loose, you charge them a fee. And it means $100 or $200 because these dogs could cause an accident. They could cause dog biting or attacking other livestock. So that is not my issue. I am a breeder. I've spent over $130,000 in my kennel setup. That's where I'm at. High 6-foot fences, heavy galvanized from Owen Sound. It's a safe environment. People who are losing their dogs, they don't even control their dogs. They just run loose. That type of stuff is not acceptable anymore. So I don't think I need to be punished. And our fees are being used. Somebody did ask, what are the fees being used for? I have absolutely no idea. But I think that should be brought to our attention. Also, we need to have a connection with council regarding, it used to be Hannah, it used to be Karen Foster. There needs to be a link. A third party in Timbuktu does not suffice me. I just feel that I'm not getting anything from council regarding the use of the fees that we pay out. I think there needs to be something more transparent as to what's going on. What is the council offering the dog community? I teach classes, at the fairgrounds for people who are interested in showing their dogs. But I think it's important that something has happened. There's just, so what I'm asking is, okay, so the key points there was, what are the fees being used for? I don't know. So if you could actually get back to me on that, that would be great to say, hey, this is what it's for. And we do need, I think Hannah needs to be linked up with the breeders, passing it on to third party on a day-to-day issue. They're just out of our reach. And okay, another thing, I really think that council needs to look at when they're creating these dog committees or having meetings on them, they really need to have a liaison with the dog community. Sitting in the back room, which these people, I'm assuming that you might have a dog. That's it. Are you aware of all the guidelines that are being put out by the CKC? Philosophy has changed. When I started, it was a dog. It was owner, master. Then it was your pet.
George, can I get you to wrap up?
Okay.
You're supposed to have 3 minutes, and I
3
think
minutes.
I've been
know,
fairly
3
generous.
minutes. Okay. All
Please.
right. So, I really would like that with these inspections, I think they need to be looked at. Again, the first proposal you guys put out together was very clear. Here is a vet comes out, inspects your dogs, and that's it. Case closed. It's not a rocket science. You know, they are looking at the facilities, they're looking at the dogs, they're medicating the dogs, they're certified. That's all you council really needs to do. Third parties, it's like, this is a joke now, okay? And it's not at my expense. These Owen Sound guys, they really should be billing council, not us. Or you bring your price down to accommodate that. Like, I feel you're double dipping. Okay, you're charging us, and you're asking somebody else to come and inspect again while the vet did all the homework, and we paid for it. Okay, that's
Very good.
my part. Thank you
Excellent.
very much for your time.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Lindsay?
Next we have Anastasia Kibzone. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Morning, Anastasia. Welcome.
I've been doing public speaking probably since high school.
That's okay.
So-
Just get a little closer to the mic. There you go.
Yeah, your option, Bob, and maybe speak to.
Phil, you're not muted.
Floor is yours.
So my name is Anastasia Kibzone or Anna Stefan, my maiden name. I run a boarding kennel just down on Gray Road 14, Utopia Pet Resort. I am a registered breeder with CKC. I also hold numerous memberships through dog organizations. I am the Ontario Regional Director for Samoyed Association of Canada. We also run a nationwide rescue. So for me, those extra fees, as a single mom of 3 kids, running a rescue for non-for-profit is through the roof. Well, our rescue program is coming out of my pocket. So I only have 15 dogs that I train. I also have run during summertime camp for autistic kids to work with the dogs. Hence I breed Samoyeds, they're amazing breed for that. And I do put out a lot to the community, and when the consul sends me a letter saying, not even a consul, like a third party sends me a letter, oh, you have less than 2 weeks to schedule an appointment out of nowhere, and there's the fees. When I just paid over $375 for my license fees, plus I paid over $1,500 to my vet to come and inspect it. Plus, I am the only kennel in Southgate that actually CFIA certified to be a qualified quarantine kennel. So, because I do work with rescues, and some strays, they're wild, I'm not sure where they come from. So I pay $175 for that. CFIA is the organization that actually knows the bylaws, right, of the the laws. They also have knowledge of canine, zoonotic, or any other type diseases. So if the consul, in my opinion, wants a third party to come and do an inspection, that should be CFIA. I called the municipal service, something in Owen Sound. They're a security company. They have no knowledge of PAW, new PAW law. They have no knowledge of canine health or anything. Like they're do what? They have no scope of knowledge to even issue the inspection. in my opinion.
Sorry, Anastasia, can I just pause you for 1 second? We just have a mic issue. Holly's gonna fix it really quickly. Sorry.
The battery thing.
The ever ready bunny didn't show up this morning, I guess. No, no, no. No. I can tell you're almost done.
Thank you. So as I was saying, like having that third party that has no knowledge of anything to do with kennels, breeding, dog welfare, to me, it's absurd. I hope I'm not intimidating anyone with that statement, but I personally think for my 5 cents as a dog person, a breeder, and a person who involved in community, if a council would like to have a reassurance to control the puppy mills and dog farms, is to request maybe a CKC current membership with their application, a membership, proof of membership with a local kennel club. That would be a good point. You want another third-party viable inspection? We can get a CFIA inspected. That's, I think, who should be inspecting the kennels, if any. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anastasia.
That issue, but we
Okay,
have.
well, I'll just
yeah.
say that council clearly has dropped the ball on this one. We're going to have another look at the dog bylaw and try to sort out the issues that you've discussed, both of you. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, Lindsay, there's some people want to talk
Yes.
on a different issue.
Yes, we have Bob Aiken.
Yeah, I'm, you know.
Okay.
let Lori talk.
Sure, Lori, come on
A
up.
lot of the points.
No, that's fine. Yeah, Lori.
Yep.
So we have Lori Grind.
Okay, morning, Lori, welcome.
Dennis and Lori Grind, 143032 Southgate Road 14. On April 29th of 2025, when I say we, I mean Dennis and I, my husband, we sent out an email to all council members. On that email, I was negligent to tell you that we live 2 properties away from the proposed asphalt facility. My error, and I apologize. I sent that email to all council after we had directly spoke with Barbara and Jim about the proposed asphalt facility. We wanted to ask a few more questions and make a few more statements. To date, May 7th, 2025, 9 days later, Brian, Joan, Jason, Martin, and Monica have not responded to our email. You should be ashamed of yourself. Just proper communication etiquette would dictate at least an acknowledgement from you saying you received our email. You might not know me, but at least you could have said, thank you, or I will look into that. But you chose to say nothing. I talked to Barbara to make sure the email had been received. She indicated the email was received. Maybe you don't feel this proposal is relevant to your asking more questions. Maybe you don't have any concerns about the southwest area of Southgate. There can be a lot of maybes, but we don't know because you did not have the decency to acknowledge our concerns. I know you are all fine, good people. I hope this is a teaching moment for all the council members of Southgate to respond to a resident's concern. I cannot assume what I don't know. And I'd like to add that Jim Ellis called us this past Monday to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
So Bob, if you don't want to, if,
I'll just say a couple.
okay.
Welcome, Bob.
I was just wondering with this proposed asphalt facility, if anybody on council has spoken, actually, sorry. Where is the asphalt facility now that Cox uses
Where is it located right now?
currently? Yeah.
I'm not sure. Is it in Alliston? Rosemount, sorry.
Okay, I'm just wondering if anybody from council has spoken with any of the neighbors in that area regarding positives or negatives that the asphalt plant has brought to their area. So I was wondering if anybody up here.
I don't suppose anybody has, no.
No, would that be a good idea, maybe?
Barb reached out apparently.
Okay, no answer.
Yeah, we're not really going to get into it. We can't get into a debate here. The
Okay.
rule-
And just in terms of Cox coming to neighbors, I know procedure, go to council, do what you have to do. Your lawyer's going to probably say, don't talk to any of the neighbors, but I think the best thing that could have been done was probably for whoever represents them to go around to the neighbors and just say, hey, here's what we're looking at doing. Do you have any concerns? Instead, it goes through this way and it tries to get put under without not a lot of people knowing, which is a way a lot of things go through now. I didn't really even hear about this until just before the last meeting, which I couldn't be at just because I had to be at work. But yeah, that's pretty much the concerns I have. It would have been nice for somebody, one of the representatives, since I live right beside the place, to come over and say, hey, introduce himself. This is what we're looking at doing. Do you have any concerns? And the people I feel most sorry for with this going in, because it's a prevailing west wind, are all the homes to the east of the pit where this might be going in. I could just imagine what they would go through on those warm summer days when there's a breeze heading that way, as well as the school. I don't know if anybody's thought of that or not, but anyways, that's my concerns. I don't know if anyone up here has thought of any of those things. I'm sure they have, and I realize that my speaking up here isn't going to change anybody's mind on what's going to happen. But I just thought I'd share that with everybody, and it would be nice to hear from residents around the current asphalt pit to see what the positives and negatives are that this has brought to them. It'd be a smart idea to do. Anyways, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
I don't have anyone else signed up today. I did notice 2 more people walked in at the end, so I don't know whether
So
they
I'll
are
ask,
wanting
is
to
there anyone else that wants to speak at open forum?
Yep, just come up to the mic
On
and
up,
state
Amanda.
your name, please.
Welcome, Amanda.
Amanda Bender. I live on 109. So this asphalt plant is along the river back in our backyard, basically. My only concern is the smell. I have made contact with Rosemont. I've also made contact with 2 companies that we use for our construction company, just stating the smell. I only am more concerned on that end for the school, one, but also I have a son who has special needs and respiratory issues. So I can just imagine on a hot summer day, if the school had to shut down for their recesses back in 2009, I could just imagine what our backyard is going to smell like. That's my only biggest concern. I know that there's no point of getting into the truck traffic because again, Grey County, that's not really your guys' division of figuring out. But the trucks alone on 109, I had a conversation with Jim. My biggest concern with the truck traffic is not the trucks themselves, it's the Holstein traffic because in front of our home, it's a 40 zone and people are passing right at that school chain link fence to get past these trucks to get to that 80 zone at the bottom of the hill. So my issue is if they do start having to bring the trucks through Holstein, which it happens, the people that are just going to be constantly passing at that point. And again, that's road. That's not the Cox construction problem, but that's just an extra concern that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay. Just come on up and state your name.
Morning, Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy White. I actually live in the village. Didn't know anything about this asphalt plant, amazingly enough. But I'm here in regards to the kennel license again,
Oh,
to the
okay.
inspection, actually. I want to know if these people are coming from Owen Sound, are they going to do 2 or 3 inspections at the same time if that's the case? Or are they going to charge us for the one trip down and not make it feasible for anybody else? I've had a kennel license for, well, it'll be 28 years this year. And mine started off at $25 as well. And now it's just astronomical. So I want to know, are they going to take abuse of us or take advantage of us? I'm sorry. Or are they going to actually make it profitable for everybody if they do come down, if that is the final decision? Who is going to pay for each one of these? Am I going to pay for somebody coming down from Owen Sound and then Joe Blow down the road is going to pay the same amount and they've done them both in the same day? It doesn't even make sense. I'd really like to know that answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. As I said earlier, that council we're going to take another look at this. Obviously, there's some problems with the bylaw, and so we're going to have another run at it, and hopefully we can get it right this time. So thank you all for your time this morning. I really appreciate everyone coming out. Okay. All right. We'll continue on with our meeting. Confirmation of the agenda. Someone care? All right. We need to confirm the agenda, the amended agenda.
Yeah, I can read it if you.
All right, please, Lindsay.
So it would be it resolved that council approve the agenda as amended to include a third item under the closed meeting related to personal matters about an identifiable individual, subject being an HR update. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Lindsay. Someone going to move that, please? Barb and Joan, any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Is there any declaration of interest related to any item on today's agenda? Amended agenda. Not seeing any. If one should arise during the course of the meeting, you can declare it at that time. We have no delegations or presentations this morning. We have the minutes from the April 16th, April 23rd special meeting, and the April 25th special meeting. Someone care to receive those? Jim? And Jason, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So we'll start. Barb, did you have a question? Go ahead. On the minutes or?
No, through you, I wonder if we could waive procedure now in the event that we need the representative from Cox Construction to respond to any questions.
I can't presume whether anybody's coming from Cox Construction.
Right there.
Oh, gentleman sitting right there. Well, actually, the first report is the asphalt plant.
That's why
So
I'm proposing it now to waive procedure just in case.
well, if we get to that point,
Okay, thank you.
I'll look for that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the first report this morning is, as I indicated, the Cox Construction asphalt plant agreement. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, second by Monica. Thank you. John, your report, please.
Good morning, through the chair. This is just coming back from answers for questions that council had for the report on April 16th regarding the laneway, use of the Lewis Farms laneway, which there is an agreement between Cox Construction and Lewis Farms for the use of the laneway for the trucks coming in and out. The next issue was the term of the agreement, which has been renegotiated to a 2-year term with a possibility of a 3-year extension at the end of the 2 years. And the third issue was the smell of the asphalt plant. And in consultation with Cox Construction, the previous time the plant was in Holstein, it ran off of furnace oil, and since 2022, it has been switched over and burns natural gas, which will be obviously a lot cleaner and not have a smell to it. And just a reminder that we will be getting about $75,000 worth of work out of Cox Construction in our gravel pit, which is money we currently pay out but we wouldn't have to if that was the case. And just to kind of put it in perspective, that $75,000 equals 0.39% of the tax rate that we had this year. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. And just to clarify, that 75,000 is annually, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
So that 75,000, is that going to be cash or their work?
They'll be doing that work for us.
I'd like to put that we do it in cash. I believe that it's a higher estimated value they're putting on. If you had to hire a company in to do it.
Yep.
So I would prefer to see the cash amount. And there's a couple other things I got thinking. I'd like to see signs on, I believe, what's it, 14 there. So when they're working, that would come on and say, watch for trucks for the traffic coming both ways. And trying to keep trucks out of Holstein. So the work trucks, if we can, would be have them going the other way. And then just one for giggles, I was wanting to propose a 20,000 community safety fee a year. I've talked to 2 different pit owners, asked them what they would charge to put an asphalt plant on. And one was 20 grand a month. And that would have been for every month of the year. And another one was up at 35,000 is what they would charge per month.
Okay, thank you for now. John, do you want to respond?
Just to respond to the trucks, it is in the agreement that the trucks are to go to the north, come to and from north, so not through the village.
Yeah. So I think the agreement was included in the agenda package, was it not?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, Monica, I see your hands up. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you to all those that spoke this morning. I really appreciate public consultation. With regards to the renewal clause, just through you, Chair, will the 3-year extension require a new council vote or is it automatic? I'm not sure if I'm jumping too much to the bylaw, but I'm pretty sure that that's something that may be answered now.
Yeah. John?
I believe we would have to go through council to do the extension. Yeah.
Yeah, it would require an agreement from council to extend the contract for an additional 3 years.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's clearly stated in the bylaw, but is that something to wait when the bylaw part comes up?
No, I think it's in the agreement. It's in the
Yeah.
agreement. So now is the time to discuss it. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's fairly clear, but I'm in council's hands here.
Okay, no, that's perfect. And just one more follow-up just to that, Chair, if that's okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Just with regards to the concerns that are very understandable with regards to monitoring the emissions and order during operations, will there be a formalized process where residents will be able to give updates on what they're experiencing with regards to their quality of living? Will there essentially be a complaint process in place for residents? And how will it be monitored, like the emission?
Well, I guess what I would say to that respond to that would be that there's a process currently. We witnessed it this morning. If residents have concerns, they're certainly welcome to come to council, express their concerns, and council can inform any decisions from that. So that's the process that's in place. I think it works reasonably well. People are able to come to council and express their concerns.
Okay. Yeah, I was just hoping to see if there would be a way to monitor, I don't know if there's a clause that would be needed to monitor order or respond to community feedback. Just because a lot of emails that are coming through, and then some things, if they're being missed or whatnot, if there was a way to have something a bit more formalized so that as council, we can all be able to hear everything properly and just have something tracked. And I really appreciate the open forum, and I loved hearing all of the comments today. whatever way they went, is really important for that feedback. So I think I'm just kind of thinking from that lens that there'd be something a bit more formalized as this is ongoing, because I could foresee that there may be more concerns possibly coming up.
Okay, I see John wants to respond. John?
Through the chair. There's a complaint process to the township already for all issues, which would be open for this as well. But further to that, they will have to operate within their requirements with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry as well. And there is a complaint process with them as well that anyone can reach out to them and make sure that they're following our requirements there as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And that same process would apply to any ministry that has a certificate for this actual operation. Martin, I saw your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, John just answered my question or a comment. It's when there's smell, there's D6 guidelines for all and that kind of stuff, like smell and, and so I imagine that. But if there was a problem, they would go to the ministry and then the township.
Well,
and they would send ministers out and say, shut it down. And they wouldn't have a leg to stand on. The only other thing is with a 2 years term, that's just basically going to cover the jobs they have, I would assume, right? So it'll be a short period where it's going to be used in the season.
Yes, through the chair. Yeah, just whatever jobs they do have for the summer. I believe they've been awarded a few jobs with the county, and there are some highway jobs coming up in the area, but it can only be used while they're doing road projects. It can't be used for private jobs.
Yeah, just to be clear, so everyone knows, the plant isn't going to run continuous 7 days a week. It runs when the contracts are being fulfilled, i.e. the county, Gray Road 9. Just last week, Barb and I were on county council. Council extended a contract to do another piece of Gray Road 9 because of the proximity of this facility allowed better pricing, and the county decided to take advantage of that and increase the size of the contract. Joan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I noticed, John, you said the plant is now powered by natural gas, which is trucked onto the site and has less of an odor. I know, is it Amanda, was a bit concerned about the odor and stuff like that. So if it's not working, say during the first year and there is a lot of problem, would we be able to talk to them to fix it or renegotiate or just end the contract, depending on the residents and what is happening and how bad it is?
John?
Through the chair. So there is a clause in the agreement that if either party is not meeting the requirements of the contract, it can be terminated at any time.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, John. Any other questions? Barb, go ahead, please.
Thank you. And I have several to Councillor John's question through you to John. For any reason that there's an exit clause, I know that there's an exit clause, but if for some reason we are inundated with odor issues, is that a legitimate reason to cancel the contract, to exit?
John?
I'm not actually sure on that one. Might have to defer that to Jim to see, but I believe we would be able to.
Jim?
Good morning, good people. There would be another ministry involved with this. That would be the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. They would have the certificate of compliance for the asphalt plant. So there's two pieces of legislation here involved, which is the ARA license for the pit and those operations, and then the environmental or certificate of approval for the Ministry of Natural Environment for those emissions. So those, if there was complaints, they would be escalated to them. They would be looked into as well through their staff, as well as the odd time in previous instances where they don't have somebody available. They may say to our own Southgate staff, can you go out and check something for us, which we've done in the past on some other issues? If they cannot respond in a timely manner or need to do it sooner than later kind of thing. So there are those authorities that are involved. This is not just Southgate. So
Thank you, Jim. Barb?
Thank you. So there is an exit clause. That was in the agreement, very clear. I did reach out to investigate the natural gas versus furnace oil. Natural gas has been used since 2022, and most of the complaints that have occurred with regard to Rosemont are more about the backup beepers than about odor. Not saying that there might not be from time to time, but my understanding is that to imply that the project is, only in operation when they're doing their projects, the construction season could be months long. It's not a 2-week window. So I understand that. And I didn't, I too am concerned about the value that we're getting. But if we take a cash value, then we're going to be hiring and doing the work. And so now we've got more people on site doing the rehabilitations. So there was an in-kind value, which probably exceeds 75,000 in my mind. But, we'll there's no amendment on the floor yet. The haul route was clearly defined by the county. It has to go out the driveway. And it would have been nice to have Mr. Aiken here to clarify his comments from the previous meeting, to understand that they are in agreement with, or have an agreement with Cox. But thank you for sharing that. The natural gas has less or no odor. And the other thing I wanted to seek clarity through you to Councillor Ferguson is, you said the $20,000 community safety fee per month? Community fund. Per year. Thank you for clarifying that. I would have asked for more, but so to our community fund as opposed to a safety fee.
Yeah, just a fund.
Okay, it's community contribution.
Yeah.
And this is where the question to Cox would be whether or not they would be amenable to that. I think that is all of my questions, because I did spend a fair amount of time speaking with the general manager as well. And I appreciate all of your responses, John. I think that you've answered the questions as best as we can without actually putting it into action. So thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Jim?
if I can just add, there will be times where there will be a local delivery that will go through Holstein. And that will be if we're doing Road 12 or Grey County's doing 109, those trucks will be traveling through Holstein for those local type projects. These projects are municipal, county, and provincial. So whatever's going on in the area and they're servicing those needs, those are what's applicable and allowed to happen. In relationship to the royalties and funds, let's compare this to the solar fund. We get 75,000 a year from the solar fund. So we are in that neighborhood of where we have got different royalties out of different entities as well. So just want to add those specifics as well to the conversation.
Thanks, Jim. Jason?
Just going back to the 75,000 a year, how do we, is that what we say our 75,000 is, or is that what Cox, like, how do we put a how do we put a value on that? Like, we're going charging by the hour, per unit, per machine? It's kind of vague to me, but.
John?
So through the chair, typically what we have done in the past is hire contractors from that have tendered and go with the lowest price one. And that's based on what their rates are for 2 weeks worth of work, 10 hours a day per unit in the pit doing that work is what I calculated out.
So it's your calculation.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, John. Anything else, Jason? Go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering, what if Cox disputes that calculation per hour, whatever, it's just a little bit vague to me. I get we're getting something, but.
John?
Yeah, so the terms are just that equipment in there for that length of time. So the cost to Cox would likely be less, but that is what we would be spending in kind. So that's $75,000 worth of savings for us
Per year.
per year.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Going back to the being able to get out of the agreement, it sounds to me like it's not gonna be up to us. Maybe this is the Jim. It's, if we have a lot of complaints in the first 2 months, it sounds like it's gonna be a ministry thing, not us. Is that?
Who wants to take that?
Like,
John?
it seems like it's over our head. It's the Aggregate Act or whatever, so.
John?
Yeah, so they are governed by the Aggregate Resources Act. So if they find that they are not in compliance, then we can shut them down. But if they find that they are within compliance, then
Yeah, so we're not really in control of that, like of that part of it.
Jim?
We have the right to terminate the agreement as outlined in the agreement. We've had this legally reviewed by our lawyer, so the mechanisms are in place. If we want to, if council directs us, or if it comes to an issue like that we have to enforce it and we terminate, then we have that exit clause.
I think I was just looking and it says here, 3.1. The township may terminate this agreement by giving written notice to Cox in the event that Cox defaults with respect to a material obligation under this agreement and does not remedy that default within 10 business days after receiving written notice of the default. That makes it pretty clear that if the township has an issue with this, we can terminate it if Cox does not remedy the concern. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Martin, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Jim, you mentioned that if the ministry has a trouble with timing, getting an inspector out, you said township staff can go in. Do you have the power to say, I'm here as a rep of the ministry now because they have no timing? Can you enforce anything by proxy, saying this is a smell, you should shut it down? I'm going to put a report into the Ministry of Environment. Is that possible? Or is that within the scope of what you just said the township can do?
Jim?
No, we do not get any powers because we receive a phone call from them. We're just doing an investigation of the complaint. So yes, is there odors? Yes, there is. We report back to them, and maybe they'll have somebody down here sooner, but if they're receiving them every 10 minutes and we go out and we don't find anything, or it's just a reporting mechanism, we don't have any powers or authority on their conditions of the certificate of approval. Just.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Any other questions, discussion? Barb?
Thank you. And through you, odor is subjective. We all know that. What smells to one person might not, and by the time you get there, the wind may have changed. It's always difficult to enforce. I guess my question about the exit clause is if we find Cox in default, is odor a default? I guess that's my question.
John?
I through the chair, I don't know how to answer that one. Sorry.
Jim?
I think again, it would come back to the Ministry of Environment and their findings, and if they aren't operating in compliance, or they would put the hammer down. But again, we would be investigating as well and looking into these. And if we found that it was not working that way it should be, then we would have that opportunity to terminate the agreement.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions? Discussion? Jim?
So this work, the 75,000, that's to clean up the older part of the pit, is it? Or is that going to include the new laneways getting put in or that? That's just the one question.
John?
So the new entrance is separate of the work.
Okay.
That's totally separate. And then so that 2 weeks of work is either stripping or extraction or rehabilitation, whatever we need done that year.
Okay.
Because we are still taking some gravel out of the west end of the pit. So we want to finish that and then we'll start rehabilitating all the way across.
Okay.
Joan, please.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Do we rehabilitate every year? The pit?
John?
We don't do rehabilitations every year, but we do, as we can do some, we will. Yeah.
Barb?
Actually, the conversation reminded me about another concern expressed about the sightlines. And you provided, very clear guidelines on sightlines. And if those aren't met or can't be met through measurement, proper measurement, the entrances would be relocated.
John?
Yes, either relocated or Cox would have to do whatever's necessary to get the sight lines.
Go ahead.
And so to keep it in frame, they're paying for the entrance relocation and upgrades, whatever that is. They're traveling across the roads, therefore they need to maintain a certain parameter of that roadway annually. Plus, they're going to help us strip, extract, and rehabilitate over a 2-week period, whatever is required at that time, rather than us hiring someone or a contractor to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
So I'd like to move an amendment. I guess it'd be a 3-part. So unnecessary truck use in the village of Holstein would be a way to word that, Jim, I guess. This is one. And then signs with lights. So when they are working and will be crossing the road, where they can turn, just saying trucks crossing when lights are flashing. I'd like to see on the side road 14. And then, I don't know, the 20,000 community fund for safety. This is how we word it.
I'm a little hesitant to get into negotiating at the council table. That's a little unfair to Cox Construction. So what I'm going to suggest is if council wants to make these requests to John, and we will refer this back to staff to negotiate with Cox Construction and come back with an amended agreement.
Okay.
However, John and Cox Construction put it together.
Yeah.
What would be council's thoughts on that process rather than trying to amend the agreement right here and now?
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, I see you indicating.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor Milne. I think it's more appropriate to refer it back to staff for further discussion, negotiation. I have written something out that I think has captured, just so it's in there for John and for Cox. I've written it out. I can read it. I think
Please.
I've captured everything.
Yep.
So it would be it resolved that council refers staff report PW 2025-014 and bylaw 2025-045 back to staff for further discussion and negotiation with Cox Construction regarding the following items: a yearly $20,000 community contribution from Cox Construction, ensure the agreement is clear regarding council approval of the extension of the agreement, truck haul route and termination of the agreement, including odor specifically, and sightlines of the entrances and implementation of signage and lights on Southgate Road 14. I think
Does that
that was
cap-
everything.
Yeah, does that capture your concerns, Jim?
Yeah.
All right. Is anybody, Jim or Jason rather, sorry?
Well, I was just wondering if we could waive procedure, and I know we don't want to talk about it right now, but the Cox representative is here, like what Barb had said earlier, just to get a rough idea of what they're, I don't know, I'm just.
Well, as I said, it's a little unfair to Cox Construction, although I would defer to the gentleman here. I mean, it's a little unfair to ask him to you know,
Well, no,
to negotiate in public like this right in front of council at the
Well,
last
I'm not
minute.
saying negotiate. We've never had the representative here. We've had his representative. So I just wondered. That's fine.
Martin?
Yeah, this is time sensitive, isn't it? Because these guys want to get on the project as fast
Yeah.
as they can. So if what Jim has presented, if that could be, if we could vote on this today, and that would be, could that be something after it's signed and sealed and say, okay, now, you've heard the comments about the lights and the signs. Would that be part of redoing the driveways, like that part of making it safe? So it's kind of already in the agreement to make the driveway safe?
Well, let me do this. Sorry, sir, I didn't get your name. Kelly. Kelly, are you prepared to respond to these concerns today? Okay, all right. Well, what I need then is a motion to waive procedure to allow Kelly to come to the microphone. So Jason and Martin have moved that. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. So, sir, you've heard the concerns. Perhaps you could address some or all of them, please? Yeah.
As far as the community safety
Fine.
dollars fund, whatever. Cox Construction, 90% of our work is funded by taxpayers. So you're literally taking money from this pocket and putting it in this pocket. It's the place we're going to get that money is your road work, right? So I don't know if that's the best option. We have upgraded the plant. We have done a lot of stuff to that plant to make the smell better. Asphalt does have a smell. It does. I don't know if you've ever been near a road job when asphalt's going down, but it does always have a smell. The heating part of the plant is what we've changed. And I believe that was most of the smell. If in the last 2 years in Primrose where we've been running, we've had 0 complaints, none. We do have regular checks. The Ministry of Natural Resources and the Ministry of the Environment both check on us constantly. So that should be good. It's good up there. It will be good here.
Okay, so now that we have Mr. or Kelly Mr., I want to say Mr., but it's Kelly's your first name, correct?
Kelly,
Okay.
Kelly Van Gogh.
All right.
Yeah.
So now that we have the Cox Construction representative at the microphone, is there any other, Jim, are you,
Yeah, I know you're saying it's taking it out of one hand, and what would it cost for you to buy a pit to run it in this area?
Probably $2 million.
So 20,000 a year isn't crazy.
It's not crazy. I'm just saying that's where we get our money, right? We get our money from the taxpayers to do road work. It's always taxpayers. There's very little private work. We won't be able to do any private work out of this location at all. It's only going to be tax-based.
anything else, Jim?
Yeah, I get it that you're going to be doing the work, but are we getting a written guarantee of what we're going to be paying for asphalt from you?
There's a bid process. That's the way it works. So
Anything else, Jim?
Well, because in a way, then aren't we kind of shooting ourselves in the foot with other competition that will be bidding on it?
you'll get a better price from us because of our location. So a lot of the paving work and stuff, it's trucking related. So the closer we are, the better price we can give. That's just the way it works.
Madam Clerk, do we have a motion on the floor to refer?
We don't. I have
Okay.
read it. I do think we need to refer it back. I don't think council should approve the agreement with stuff added today that
Right.
Cox
It
hasn't really.
makes it a little bit difficult if things go sideways, if we're negotiating right here at the council
I
table.
don't know if she's.
Oh, Monica, go ahead, please.
Hi, yes, thank you. Just through you, Chair. Yes, I agreed to support to refer it back. I also just wanted to ask in regards to Councillor Ferguson's amendment. Because I did have a question about enforcement on haul roads. So does Councillor Ferguson's amendment include that point? If basically, I understand that haul roads are defined, but there's, from my understanding, no penalty or enforcement mechanisms detailed if Cox uses undesignated roads. So I just wanted to confirm if there's any clause for penalties or formal reporting violations. Is that already something included? If not, that would be something I was going to ask about, which is why I also support referring it back, because it looks like there is a number of things that we could probably iron out a little bit better and then be able to have a better understanding and discussion as we move forward on this.
Well, if you notice in the covenants by Cox on the second page of the agreement, under D, it says Cox shall only use Gray Road, County Road 109 for its main haul route to haul asphalt. Cox further agrees and undertakes that it shall not use township roads as a haul route to Highway 89 or Highway 6. Any use of township roads shall be strictly restricted to the local deliveries, as John, or I believe it was Jim mentioned, of aggregate drawn only from the property. So if they did not follow that, they'd be in default of the contract, and we would have grounds to stop the contract.
Okay, perfect. That sounds better. It was just like the reporting. So
Okay.
yeah, that by virtue would, yeah, will go into a formal reporting process because the clause is there.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Madam Clerk?
I just want to make it clear, there isn't an amendment on the table.
Correct.
Nor a referral on the table. It's the main motion, but I have crafted a referral because I believe that's the way we need to go with it.
What I'm trying to suss out here now is this is your opportunity. If you want John and Cox Construction, Kelly, to discuss an issue and come to an agreement, now's the time to raise it. Rather than 2 weeks when we bring this back again with more stuff. Now's the time. Because as Martin pointed out, time is ticking. The season is short enough. I'm sure we don't need to drag this out till the middle of July. So if you have more issues, now's the time to raise them. Are there any other issues that you want John and Kelly to discuss when we defer or refer this back? Okay, not seeing any. If someone would move the referral. Joan and Barb will second that. Go ahead.
We've already addressed the truck haul route. It's right in the bylaw.
I know, but
Do you want me to read again what I have?
sure.
So that council refer it back to staff for further discussion and negotiation with Cox Construction regarding a yearly $20,000 community contribution from Cox Construction to ensure the agreement is clear regarding council approval of the extension of the agreement, the truck haul route, and termination of the agreement, including odor specifically, and sightlines of the entrances and implementation of signage and lights on Southgate Road 14.
That has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion to refer back to staff? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Kelly, I appreciate your time today. Unfortunately, we don't have an agreement with you today, but I'm sure a discussion with John on the issues that were raised today, we can come to some agreement. Thank you,
Can I get a
sir.
recorded vote, please?
Absolutely. Madam Clerk, should take the poll, please.
A recorded vote was called on the referral of the motion. Deputy Mayor Dobreen,
Yes.
Counselor Singh Soares,
Yes.
Mayor Milne,
In favor.
Counselor Ferguson,
Yes.
Counselor Shipston,
Nope.
Counselor Rice,
No.
Counselor John,
Yes.
by a vote of 5-2, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. Okay, so the bylaw has been referred as well till the next meeting. So we're off to, oh, wait a minute. What time is it? 10:05. Do we need a recess? All right, let's recess for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
I think we do. So we'll bring it back to order. The next section of reports are from Emergency Services. That brings us to Chief Melnick. Someone care to move that first report regarding first student transportation agreement? Barb and Jim, thank you. Welcome, Derek. Chief Derek, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. This is another agreement similar to the food land agreement through emergency management to secure ourselves transportation services in the event of emergency. Earlier in 2023, we had a verbal agreement set up with First Student when we got our 4-story apartment, that in the need of any fire purposes where we needed to evacuate the apartment buildings, we could house individuals in the school bus to keep warm and relocate them to our emergency shelter location if needed. And this was free cost, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As talked about with the food land agreement, we thought we needed something in writing, as well as for the rest of our emergency management. When we're talking to other local CEMCs, everybody is just hopefully relying on First Student. So this will actually secure them for us. And then obviously, if they can assist other places, they will. In the agreement itself, it has a time frame for when they can make buses available for ASAP. We originally had 1 hour, but obviously we know there's certain things where it may play into effect, such as Christmas or at 2 a.m. in a snowstorm or during bus pickup and drop off time, that they might be a little bit more than an hour. So we didn't want to hold them directly in the agreement to an hour. They are under the impression that they will be able to get it to us 90% of the time under an hour. And with that, there would be no fees exchanged. We would be waiving our fees and service bylaw, as First Student is located in Melancton. So anytime they get in an accident in Southgate, they could receive an invoice from us. Staff felt this was fair to waive this fee, as they would not be charging us for any use of the buses for emergency purposes. And they would also incorporate coming to our emergency exercise and using the bus for trials at their own cost. By doing this, if there was any accidents with First Student, it would speed up the process, because they are transporting our residents' children, and we wouldn't want them to delay calling emergency services for fear of an invoice coming their way. And I'll take any questions.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Martin.
Thanks, Derek. Only one, I guess, with the, there's no limit on the buses then. Because they have quite a few. So if we need 10, for God forbid if there's that kind of accident or anything, but there's no limit on the number.
As many as we need and they can provide, they will keep providing them to us.
Thank you, Martin. Any other questions? Barb?
Thank you. And through you, good morning. So I had a couple of questions. I appreciate that you've been at fires and keeping us safe. The provision on the agreement, for the term of the agreement, it says the provision applies to any possible future motor vehicle accidents involving the buses operated by the bus company. I'm wondering if it should include for the term of this agreement. I know it's for 1 year, but to be clear, if the agreement folds after a year and we're no longer in an agreement, we don't want it to be open-ended that we're going to waive those invoices forever.
Derek?
We can definitely look at that. These agreements have also been passed through our legal team and through our insurance company, as well as First Students, and they have all signed off on this agreement.
Barb?
And I'm thrilled to know that this actually is included for exercise purposes. Do they normally supply the bus for the roads tour? And are we charged for that normally, or is that included in this agreement?
I would defer that to John or Jim about the roads tour. When in negotiations with the company for this, staff just thought that we would keep it emergency purposes wise, because they are a business that we still want to support, as well as there's other times where we might be purchasing bus services to bus students to the safety village as part of public education. So we still want to provide them some business, but I will defer that question about the bus tour to John or Jim. Jim?
No, we pay our way for the roads bus tour, so.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Joan, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Chief, what was the normal accident fees that they would have paid to us when we go out?
So our accident fee is MTO rate, which adjusts every single year. Right now, it is, I believe, $579 per truck per hour and $61 per firefighter an hour. In the history of this company and me as chief, we have only invoiced them once on Southgate roads. There's been other accidents that we respond to as a first coverage zone, but that is between those municipalities and that bus line. But for us, it's only been one invoice.
Monica, head Monica first and then Barb. Go ahead, Monica, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to say that, I found that this agreement to really help improve emergency resilience, especially for our vulnerable population in Southgate, for those residents specifically, and also those that are isolated. So there is definitely a mutual benefit in this agreement. Just a quick question with regards to insurance and liability. Just wanted to understand if there was a clarity on who assumes liability for injuries or issues that happen during bus use in emergencies.
Derek?
So through this, First Student had to provide us with insurance. It's part of the agreement up to our insurance company's specifications. So our insurance company, as well as First Students, has looked into that, and they have both agreed on the terms of this agreement.
Just a quick follow-up, if
Yep,
that's okay.
go ahead, please. Yep.
Thank you, Chief, for that clarification. And just one more clarification about the waived accident response fee, which is minimal. Just wondering, has it been documented transparently in the fees and charges bylaw for audit and clarity? Just for like administrative purposes.
Madam Clerk, well, maybe I'll refer that one to you or to Kayla. Who?
Sorry, Monica, do you mean, is it, I kind of missed that. Is it clear what Derek's invoice is in the fees and charges? Is that,
Yes, sir.
is that the question?
Oh, yes. Thank you for your question, Madam Clerk. Just with regards to the waived accident response fee, just wondering if it will be documented clearly in the fees and charges bylaw for audit clarity.
So in our fees and charges bylaw, I'm just going to pull it up really
Yeah,
quick.
just for administrative to make sure we're all covered as a town and all that.
Okay. So no, the waiving of the fee for this agreement would not be included. That's in this agreement.
Okay.
So in our fees and charges, there is there's a fee that is the current MTO rate. It's listed, which is what Derek would invoice on based on what they respond to. But in this case, if there was a accident with First Student, Derek would know through this approval of this agreement that we wouldn't be invoicing those fees. So it's not necessarily going to be listed in our fees and charges bylaw, but approval of this agreement, his staff will know not to invoice First Student because we have this agreement in place. Is that what you mean?
Yes, because I was just wondering if it should be like an asterisk. I mean, this is up to you guys will know better than me, but just for audit purposes, make sure everything's covered for everyone.
So
it should be an
yeah,
asterisk or something included in there
So-
that's for this purpose or no?
it wouldn't be necessary in our fees and charges through the audit process. Kayla, you can comment. They would request copy of this agreement
Oh, okay.
if needed. Yeah, it wouldn't need to be listed in our fees and charges.
Actually, the last point, the sentence you just said, that made sense. It's going to be going through a different
Yeah, yeah.
invoice.
We would
Okay.
provide it to our auditors if needed.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Very good. Barb?
Thank you. And one additional, or actually a two-part additional question. There's an article in the news. The OPP are concerned with the rise in police response to bus accidents or bus crashes, and I'm just wondering, is there a cap? So we may never, and hopefully never, have to call out for a student for an emergency, for evacuation purposes. I pray that that is the case. And so value, I mean, you indicated 579 per truck plus firefighters per hour. It can be significant. And I'm totally supportive of the agreement. Don't get me wrong. I just want to know is if there is a rise, a significant rise in vehicular crashes that the first student is involved in on township roads, is there a cap? Thank you.
Through the mayor, I would answer that with this agreement is yearly basis. So we can always look at the agreement if we deemed necessary. With that comment as well is we don't know what kind of emergencies are out there. We might see an escalation for us on that aspect where they're getting called for buses more frequently than we're getting an accident or that there's accidents there. Especially this is for fire purposes as well for apartment buildings. So we have the Grey County housing buildings that we might have to put people in there. We have the 4-story. We're building more and more density in town that could require housing of these people in the wintertime for fire operations. But again, every single year we can relook at the agreement and see what's happening there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Now we move on to the bylaw specifically for that agreement. Jim, second by Jason. Thank you. Anything further to add on the bylaw, Chief?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion from council? Questions, Jim? Yeah, don't get ahead of me. Okay, not seeing any questions. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. One more report from the chief regarding sale of rescue truck 708. Someone care to move that, please? Joan and Jim, thank you. Chief?
Through the mayor. So this is our old international rescue truck, 2004. So we brought a staff report, I think around Christmas time, asking to transfer this to water department. They haven't really been using it. It's been parked outside. We've been paying insurance on it. So with staff all decided that we would list it for sale on Gov Deals. In our budget, we had $20,000. So we put a reserve on the truck for $20,000 on Gov Deals. The highest bidder that we did receive for the vehicle after 13 days listed on Gov Deals was $16,000. So we're just looking for approval to sell the vehicle for that. That is a confirmed offer currently, and the individual is waiting to hear for what council decides to do with this vehicle before they decide if they want to go look for another vehicle, but they are still interested in it for $16,000. The other option, if council chose not to approve that sale, would be we would retain the vehicle, we would place it on different vehicle sale sites, and we don't know how long it would sit on there. So this is a confirmed $16,000 offer for that vehicle.
Bird in hand. Very good. So the motion is to sell the truck for $16,000. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Sold. Thank you, Chief. Moving on to the planning department. Everybody's been waiting with bated breath, I'm sure, to hear from the planning department. So the first report is the Committee of Adjustment Procedures proposal. Someone care to move that, please? Martin, thank you. Seconder. Jim, thank you. Ken, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good morning once again, Council. The next two items are stemming from the update to the Township's procedure bylaw, which is also on today's agenda. So as Council heard at the last meeting, the way that the new procedure bylaw is set up is that the Committee of Adjustment procedures will now be pulled out of the procedure bylaw, and then the committee must actually establish their own, which is what we have before you as a draft. And we're seeking any feedback from you in terms of any potential changes to bring forward for adoption at the next council meeting in 2 weeks. I'll leave it at that.
Very good. Thank you, Ken. Are there any questions or discussion regarding the report? Barb?
Thank you. I did have a couple of questions which I forwarded on for consideration because I noticed the draft bylaws there or the draft procedure. Members, it's under calling of hearings. The agenda shall be published 5 days prior to the hearing, which by my calculation would be Friday. And it would be published to the committee first, then the public. What is the time frame? Is it simultaneous? Is it the public won't see it till the Monday? And maybe that's a question for the clerk.
I can just
Madam
from an,
Clerk, please.
just, yeah, through you from an e-scribe perspective, I think the wording, it could be amended possibly, but it would be published through our agenda management software at the same time. So it's public and on the website, and then an email would go out to members. That would follow our normal process. So it would
Yeah.
be simultaneously.
Go ahead, please.
Then the wording, I just found it odd that it would be after. It just creates people thinking that we're not being transparent. And it's also referenced under the application information, under the committee composition, under A, but then later in the procedure, it indicates that it shall be annually, but A indicates the chair is elected at the first regular meeting. And my question is this annually or once per term? Later in the procedure, it does say that it is annually, as is our current process. So that could be consistent. The hearing procedure doesn't indicate that it allows for questions of staff. It just speaks to the chair shall ask if any members have questions of the applicant or the representative. And I'd like to have the opportunity, there may be questions that staff can answer with regard to the Planning Act. And the other question was asked and answered. So thank you. Those are my
Okay.
comments.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussion? Ken, did you want to add anything?
Through your worship, I'll just say that we'll take those back and make
Yep.
adjustments. Yeah.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Still have my mic on.
Yep. No, that's good. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to the planning committee terms of reference proposal. This as well is for information, is a draft.
Yes, so through your worship, second piece
Just
to.
before you start, I need a mover and seconder. Sorry to interrupt.
You're on a
Barb
roll.
and
Okay.
Jim, thank you. Go ahead, Ken.
You're on
Sorry.
a roll. Don't want to stop it. So, no, this, just further to the previous item, this is the other piece that we've brought forward for any comments prior to adoption at the next meeting, which is, terms of reference for the planning committee, when you do planning public meetings.
Very good. Are there any questions or discussion regarding the draft? Barb?
Again, I did provide some suggestions. I just want to raise them here. Under number 8, duties and responsibilities include that no decision of council committee will be made at this meeting. The meeting and the comments are for consideration only. I'm wondering if that could be added. The other is that if the mayor is automatically the chair, which I absolutely support, and this isn't for me personally, because I think there's an opportunity for everyone to, learn to be in the chair for committee of adjustment, but by virtue of the elected position, shouldn't the deputy mayor be the vice chair? If the mayor is automatically the chair by virtue of the elected position, it's not me personally, I'm just for future, this has got to carry on for future councils. And I guess my big question is, we've just had the county require a quorum for a public planning meeting, and we're requiring quorum now, but it never has been. Has the county and Southgate and other municipalities been doing it wrong, or has there been a change in the Planning Act that now requires a quorum of council to hear information that staff have always been gathering in order to pull together their report and make the recommendation to council? Isn't that potentially advancing the business of the municipality. I'm just curious as to why all of a sudden quorum is required.
Ken?
So through you to the deputy mayor, my understanding of the Planning Act is there is an expectation of a quorum because part of the business of council is holding a required public meeting for certain applications, either through the committee of adjustment for those applications or the planning meetings that you have for an official plan amendment or a zoning bylaw. So if you're not in a position that there is sufficient quorum to hold that meeting, then the business of council is not advanced. That meeting ends up being canceled, but that doesn't absolve you from the requirement in the Planning Act to still have that public meeting for those specific applications. It just triggers the need for staff to then, okay, the next meeting would be here, then we would have to generate notice and basically start from the beginning all over again.
Thank you. I still don't have my answer because you just said if quorum can't be achieved, it doesn't absolve us from having the meeting, but the meeting would be canceled.
Yeah, so what I mean by that through you, your worship, is that the business would just move to the next available meeting. So if you're not in a position that, let's say today would be a planning meeting. If we didn't have quorum, but we had applications that needed to be heard, because we would not have quorum and be unable to hold the meeting, then what would happen is we would have to move those items to the next available meeting that would be in the schedule. Or we could ask the question of council whether you want to hold a special meeting. But then we would go back to the beginning and we would have to then give notice of that meeting to all of those involved.
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mayor Milne. This was identified by clerks on call, Michelle and Michelle, who've reviewed our procedure bylaw as a best practice. I don't know if maybe Tara was listening in. I have not spoken to Tara at all about this, so I think that's maybe just a coincidence about their meetings, but it was identified as a best practice moving forward. They weren't concerned about the past, but that moving forward, there should be a quorum of council. And in the past, to speak to that, we pretty well have always had one. I can't remember a public planning meeting where we didn't have quorum. It's now just put in our terms and a best practice moving forward.
Thank you. That's that makes it sort of clear. I guess I just question, it's always been communicated through, the various planning meetings, Planning 101, that it's staff's meeting in order to gain the information, questions from the public, from the applicant, from council, if there are any, in that, then they go away and they develop their report and try to mitigate those comments. But it's a best practice. It's not, there's nothing that has said you've been doing this wrong and you have to have quorum. It's a best practice to have quorum, and that explains and satisfies my curiosity. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Martin, go ahead, please.
Yeah, that was the only question I had. We had the committee of adjustment, a quorum there. If that doesn't happen, then obviously what Ken said, that is obviously the same thing. And that's the question I had with this, because every time we have a public planning, we've always been told it's optional. It's optional. It's optional.
Mm-hmm.
And as Lindsay has said, we usually have quorum, but it was just nice to hear that answer that, yeah, we better have quorum because the applicants want it done. So the way we're doing the meetings now is committee of adjustment. We have 3 for that. We should never be without a quorum because we're doing the meetings at 10:30 now. So it's good to have it set down on paper, and that was my only question. So Ken, thank you for asking that, answering that.
Thank you, Martin. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. There we go. So the next one is a zoning bylaw amendment and an OPA Ridgeview Lumber Incorporated. Someone care to move that, please? Jason, thank you. Second by Jim, thank you. Ken. Oh, Bill. Welcome, Bill. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Mayor Milne, members of council, staff. It's my pleasure to present this application, which is for an official plan amendment at the county level, township official plan amendment, and zoning bylaw amendment. After much discussion and pre-consultation with the county planners, it was determined that the best way for this to move forward was to prepare a report on the all three applications, and then forward any comments that council may have on this application to the county so that their amendment can proceed or not proceed, depending on their perspective on it. So the purpose of this amendment is to allow for Ridgeview Lumber, which is right next door to your municipal office on Gray Road 9, 185673, to expand their operations, the area they operate from 8,000 square meters to 9,300 square meters, which is 2.25%, of the lot area of that site. As I said, both the official plan at the township level and the zoning bylaw would also be amended should this go through at the county level. The reason we recommend looking at all three applications is just to give you enough information to formulate comments and decide what you want to say to the county as far as this application and its impacts on the municipality. There is a recommendation that recommends forwarding support for the amendment at this point. There are draft official plan and zoning bylaw amendments that are attached that are for the county or the township level decisions, but those are not etched in stone. Those would only come forward if the amendment does in fact move through for approval at the county level. There was a public meeting held on this and there was comments obtained. There was no public objection to it as proposed. What is happening is that the existing on-farm diversified use that was approved a few years back would be changed to exclusively, I guess, a retail and contractors sale of lumber and other building materials. There would be a storage building built at the northwest corner of the area of the property where this business is occurring, and then there would be increased outdoor storage along the west lot line. This is in a rural designation in the official plans, both the county and township official plans. So that designation does permit a contractor's yard. And so this, when reviewing the website and speaking to the planner and the who prepared a report, this does have contractors yard services. So contractors do pick up materials and that would be allowed by the designation. What isn't allowed in both designations of the county official plan and the township official plan would be the expanded retail area for this site and the retail sales as an on-farm diversified use. So there's kind of a fine line there, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds and maybe can answer some questions later, but in a rural designation, this kind of use could occur and not be considered an on-farm diversified use. In discussions before the applications came in with the county and the applicant and their planner, it was determined that funneling this through as an on-farm diversified use was the preferred way of going, even though it does expand and not comply with the general standards for on-farm diversified uses in both official plans. So what is happening is an exception to the county official plan. And if that goes through to allow this retail sales and the additional outdoor storage, then the township official plan would come forward in its final wording, and the zoning bylaw amendment would come forward in its final wording. We've looked at the surrounding area. We've looked at how the site functions, the impacts potentially on adjacent lands, the agricultural uses that are on the property now will continue from the street, and really from the perspective as an abutting landowner, there will be very little impact from this change, other than perhaps additional traffic, additional storage on the site and movement and so forth. But from a noise separation, from a land use compatibility perspective, we feel that at least at this point, it's appropriate for council to support moving forward with the county official plan amendment. The county would then take your comments and draft up whatever report it needs to consider their amendment and what kinds of issues they see as being of concern and supportable from their perspective. So this is where we're at. We've done a fulsome review of the whole application, how it might proceed forward, and some of the pros and cons of it. And I'm happy to answer any questions. But just wanted to reemphasize that council would not be approving the amendments that are attached there. They would only be forwarding the comments in general as outlined in the report, as far as being supportive at this point. And the rest will come back later for your approval if it does in fact proceed through the county.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Any questions? Barb.
Thank you. And thank you, Bill. Couple of questions then through you, Mayor Milne. If not a non-farm diversified use, what would it have qualified for? What would they have had to have applied for, or would it have been denied?
Through you, Mayor Milne, the way they would do it would be to amend the county official plan and the township official plan to include the retail sale component, in addition to the contractor's yard component. So the retail sale of lumber was actually approved as part of a series of on-farm diversified uses when this first went in. I think it had certain what were the other uses that were in there? There were I'm sorry, I don't believe they were even necessarily established, but originally it was approved for small scale industrial use, dry industrial manufacturing, metal workshop, welding manufacturer of small equipment and repair, woodworking, and the retail sale of lumber and associated construction materials. So all those range of uses were approved as an on-farm diversified use that would have complied with the official plan standards for on-farm diversified uses. If it were to go a different way, what you would do is you would add the retail sale of lumber as a permitted use in a rural designation for this particular site. And it wouldn't be called an on-farm diversified use, but just the general consensus was it was easier to move it forward as an on-farm diversified use with the exceptions, but it could easily go the other way too. One thing we're suggesting in this report is that those other uses, the metal workshop, fabricating, welding, small equipment repair, and all that, that would no longer be permitted. Those things would come out, and it would only be retail sale of lumber.
Go ahead.
So they're not currently doing metal fabrication. You're just adjusting the uses that could in fact be part of the on-farm diversified use. And the retail sales is already included. So we're not adding a use, but we are expanding the use. And it is it doesn't, the grand scheme of things, 0.25% of lot area greater than what we allow doesn't sound significant, but 1,300 square meters does, or feet. I feel this is the start of expansion creep, and we established a size that we were comfortable with. And we're already seeing expansions. We have another one on file, but it is still within our limit. So, if you, set a limit, stay within it. I'm not in favor of allowing expansion beyond what we've already established.
Okay, thank you. And I have Martin first and then Joan.
Well, actually, Bill answered my question about the wet and dry manufacturing not to be allowed at all. So I have no other questions.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Joan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, is there an exception for the maximum zone area of the informed diversified use of 9,300 square meters at the maximum allowable that they're asking for, and we're asking for an exception to give them that amount of space?
Bill?
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Councillor, yes, that's correct. This is an exception. It's going all the way up to the policy level, and it would apply only to this particular property. So it would be a site-specific exception, and it would expand the operating area, although the operating area is essentially there right now. It's gravel, and there is a barn on the property. So from a perspective of the actual impact of the use, it would be expanded, but as far as the physical changes on the site, there would only be a fairly small building put up in one corner, and it wouldn't affect the agricultural use that's ongoing there. So yes, it's an exception, and it's going right up to the policy level at the county, and it's only for this particular site.
Thank you. Well, this kind of go back to Deputy Mayor Dobrinus is saying, we are granting one exception and then we're going to be getting some more because we did one. So here comes another one. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joan. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, as Bill pointed out, we're not actually approving anything. We're actually just sending comments to the county for their consideration at this point. Go ahead.
The resolution does say that we are in support of.
It does, but
Thank
we're
you.
not actually approving anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, with that distinction in mind, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the next is the zoning bylaw amendment for Elam and Nancy Martin. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, thank you. And Jason, thank you. Bill? Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Milne, members of council. This particular amendment actually does comply with the provisions in the county and township official plan. It is for a expansion from 647 square meters to 685 square meters. This is for office and lunchroom addition. This particular site's 28 hectares, and it's a little bit different than some of the others in that the entire portion of the property that's not in the hazard or EP zone, environmental protection zone, was zoned A1293. So what we're suggesting in this particular application, if council sees fit to move forward, would be that the same A1 exception 293 zone would apply, but that we would establish a operating area on the site. And that operating area would be shown on the site plan. And it's in the attachment 1, and you can see it if you look very closely in there. It actually runs through an existing storage shed that's on the property already. And that is storage that is used for the on-farm diversified use, the existing shop, and then they have some outdoor storage as well. So there's a little bit more storage than you normally see. Typically, these have 500 square meters of storage. This one has, I think, a little bit more than that. But overall, the expansion is not substantial. It is in compliance with the standards in the township official plan as well as the county official plan. It is supporting the agricultural use of the property. It would be secondary to that. The provisions in the bylaw would prohibit that indoor storage from being converted to shop space, just so that doesn't happen. And if there's any inspection needed or occurring, that we make sure that that operation doesn't creep into that part of the site. It hasn't, as far as we know at this point. So there would be an amending site plan agreement, and the provisions of a bylaw would ensure that the enclosed storage remains as storage and not anything else. So our recommendation to you is that you proceed further and consider the bylaw in the subsequent item of council.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Any questions on this one? Okay, not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the bylaw for that particular zoning bylaw amendment. Jason moves, Jim seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, council. Thank you.
Moving on to legislative services, we have the vacant bylaw or vacant building bylaw retraction, or to be considered at least. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Joan. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Milne. Staff are bringing this forward to council so we can actually rescind the vacant building bylaw. We put this bylaw in place in 2023 after much discussion. This was following the elimination of the vacancy tax rebate at the township and county levels. At the time, we had a lot of discussions about the maintenance of properties, particularly in downtown Dundalk, but recognizing that we can't just focus on one set of buildings or one area. So we did put this bylaw in place, but we have had some challenges over the last 2 years or so trying to enforce this bylaw, and that's why we're actually asking for it to be rescinded now. We don't have a ticketing system with the province and an AMP bylaw in place, or an administration process to have a building registry. And then we're also concerned with previous legal review of the bylaw, and at this point, it's, I guess, more of a problem to leave it in place rather when it's not being enforced than just to rescind it. So that's our recommendation today. Internally, we're still going to look for ways to help with the revitalization of the downtown for sure through economic development and other avenues. But at this point in time, it's staff's recommendation to rescind the vacant building bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Any questions from council? Joan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, Lindsay. So what would we put in place if we rescind this bylaw? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna cope with this?
So there wouldn't be another bylaw at this point in time put in place. I mean, we do have the word is escaping me, the community improvement plan.
CIP.
There's that avenue for businesses to go through. Brenda has been doing a lot of her one of her strategic priorities is the downtown businesses and that revitalization and those efforts. So, but no, as to your question, there wouldn't be another bylaw regarding enforcement put in place at this point in time. Welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Martin, go ahead, please.
So Lindsay, when it says concerns of previous legal, I'm assuming that is what you just basically said. How do we do it? Because it was more based on the voluntary of the person having that building. And if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do
That's
it.
right.
And the legal right is we can't go on personal property. This doesn't affect bylaws saying you have, that's a vacant property. I want to see the owner. We want to go in and have a look.
So
Like, it
this
doesn't do
doesn't
any-
affect the bylaw enforcement.
No, but they still
her-
have their.
Her process of when a complaint is received or any such thing like that. That's not.
Okay.
Not affected by this bylaw.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Martin. Barb?
Thank you, and through you, and thank you, Lindsay. At the time when we withdrew or removed the vacancy tax rebate, we bounced around the option, which other municipalities seem to have been able to figure out, a vacancy tax premium. So a penalty that if your property is vacant, again, it's hard for bylaw to prove that it's vacant if, they can't go, in. This being a voluntary registry where you actually pay a fee to voluntarily indicate, I always questioned that. I questioned it at the time, but I would like us to explore maybe finance, legal, what parameters, what can we do to, push or encourage the landowners to, get people in their building. They have to meet code too. Or at least work with us to bring their properties up to code so that they then can be rented and get those businesses filled. I had 2 calls over the weekend, continue to be criticized that we're doing nothing. I encourage them to follow the paper and actually, listen to what we have been doing in order to improve the downtown. But the landowners themselves have to be the ones that come to the table. They have to be there having the conversations with us and working with us in order to actually achieve anything. So fully supportive of not creating a bylaw that staff can't enforce. So you have my support there, but would welcome and will look forward to more options coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Any other questions? Okay. Oh,
Mr. Chair.
oh, Monica, go ahead, please. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just definitely to the points that are already raised by other council members. Just the community impact and perception is definitely something that was of concern. Sometimes perception is reality. I do understand the concerns with regards to the vacancy bylaw, but a lot of people, I guess, could say were, for lack of a better word, excited or hopeful that there was something being done. So to the point that was just raised, would there be any other possibility of an amendment or a repeal or improvement to the current bylaw? Is that something that is possible? I do just wanted to add that with the Dundalk Revitalization Task Force, that is something that's very good. And I do hope to see something coming more from that, but definitely specifically even for Dundalk itself, we just hear the comments, what's being done. And I'm just concerned that it may reflect back on also council's ability to follow through on policies and things we're putting in place. So is there any room for amendment or improvement or repeal instead of getting rid of it completely?
Madam Clerk.
Through you, to Councillor Singh Soares, we have spoke at length about this internally. I think Brenna is working with the community and working with the business owners and doing a really great job through that process. And I think she had some concerns with the bylaw being in place as well, and it just not being able, we don't have the internal processes in place to regulate this. So that's more where staff's recommendation is coming from at that time, but it's not going to hinder what Brenna's doing with the revitalization of downtown Dundalk. It may actually help her. Yep.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Lindsay.
you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. And moving on to the bylaw to actually rescind the bylaw. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, thank you. And Joan? Anything to add, Madam Clerk?
No.
No? Okay. In the absence of any further questions or discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the township property, the gravel pit that we have sold or are hoping to sell here today. Mover and seconder, absolutely. Who would like to do that? Jim, thank you, and Joan. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Milne. So we were previously directed by council to put our property at 225579 Gate Road 22 up for sale. We did a lot of work with our legal team to establish the purchase and sale agreement, which has a schedule of a profit et prendre agreement, because there is our approved gravel pit established through the ARA license on this site. So what we're doing here is maintaining an easement to the gravel pit for our extraction life, but selling the land in whole. The whole 99 acre farm is being sold, but we are retaining the easement for the gravel pit. So we released an RFP for that, which closed on April 23rd. And then we are moving forward now with approving the purchase and sale agreement with the successful purchaser, which was Dundalk Hardwood Inc., care of Aaron Bauman. So that is what's before council today, to approve the agreement and finalize that. And then we expect the property to close by the end of May.
Very good. Thank you, Lindsay. Any questions from council? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the actual bylaw to approve the sale and agreement, purchase and sale agreement. Barb will move that. Jason will second. Anything further, Madam Clerk? Nope. Any other discussion by council? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Now we're on to the procedural bylaw. I see it's 11 o'clock. Do we need another recess? Or are we good? We're good. Keep going. All right. Procedural bylaw. Someone care to move the draft approval? Barb and Jim, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. This is exciting. This is our final version of the procedural bylaw. We had a special meeting with Clerks on Call, who we contracted to redo our bylaw on April 23rd. I think everyone can agree that was a great session. I didn't make a whole lot more changes from that draft version that you've seen. In my report, I kind of just tried to point out the prominent changes to the bylaw. So I think I'll leave it at that. We're excited to make some of these changes to our meetings and our agendas. So you'll notice, as long as this is approved, you'll notice some changes for the next meeting.
Yep. Excellent. And John's going to lead us in O Canada at the next meeting.
I'm looking forward to it.
Barb.
Just a couple of questions, like the county, through you to the clerk, like the county has a recorded version. Are you relying on us to carry the tune, or is there something
John.
you have in the work?
John.
It's John I'm relying on. Yes.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it anyway. Just to clarify, for purposes of the correspondence, thank you so much for, bringing me off the ledge. I can support it, knowing that, like our correspondence consent agenda today, the minutes of boards and committees that we are appointed to will continue to show up on our agendas. That even though it's classified under correspondence, you're still working through that. It'll be more the generic items that come through that are not budget related, because those minutes show, our attendance, what was moved and seconded. So, and I think it helps keep us informed. So thank you for that. And the only other thing is in your staff report, you mentioned
Oh, yeah.
general
I
announcements,
forgot
but
about
you mentioned good news and celebration, but it's going to be general
Yeah,
announcements, right?
that was
No.
my error. So the county report section's been removed, as Michelle pointed out.
Yep.
Members' privilege is renamed to
General
general
announcements.
announcements.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I mistakenly put good news and celebrations in my report, but that's wrong.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the bylaw, which will put the procedural bylaw into play. Jason moves, Jim seconds. Anything further, Madam Clerk? Nope. All those in favor? That is carried. So John, you can be prepared to sing at the next council meeting. Or at least lead us. Moving on to the finance, thank you, Lindsay, for those reports. Moving on to the finance department, we have an additional donation request to be considered. Someone care to move that, please? Jason and Monica, thank you. Kayla, welcome.
Thank you. This is through our grant and donation policy, and the Dundalk Lawn Bowling Club is asking for a $350 donation for their open house that they'll be running in June.
Okay, thank you, Kayla. I did mention at the agenda review that we were probably just going to roll with this one. Ooh, or bowl us over. Yeah, that's a bad one. Okay, fair enough. Bad enough. I need a mover and a seconder. Barb and Joan. Do I? All right. Questions? Yes.
Just a quick question. Looking forward to the open house when that gets advertised. I know that they're trying to recruit new participants. What is the balance in that fund? Sorry to put you on the spot there, Kayla.
That's okay. So after if this is approved, then the balance will be 10,150.
Joan?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Kayla, for approving that. I have been speaking to the lawn bowling. I'm actually going to try it out. The open house is June 7th at the McIntyre building from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I think you guys should come and try it out. Just come after I'm finished with my trial. Thank you.
No cameras.
Thank you, Joan. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the next report that Kayla has for us is regarding the tax rates for the current year. Someone care to move that, please? Joan and Martin, thank you. Kayla.
Thank you. This is to provide council the bylaw to approve our 2025 tax rates based on the approved 2025 budget. I'll just take questions.
Very good. Thank you, Kayla. Are there any questions? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the bylaw to adopt the tax rates for the current year. Barb will move. Jim will second. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Kayla. Moving on to the Chief Administrative Officer, we have a couple of reports there to deal with. The first is the Grey County Joint Planning Services hybrid model. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Jim. Thank you. Jim, please.
Yeah, so there's been a few reports regarding the joint service hybrid model and some county wide reports done as well. Council's been involved with those. So we are at that decision-making point in time for council to opt in principle to the services or opt out, or no response at all by this Friday to the county will result in that we are deemed to be not included. So I think if we just look at any comments or questions you have, but I think we've spoke about this a few times. So
yep. Okay. Barb, you have a question?
Actually, I meant to, we need to select an option, and I would opt in principle.
Okay.
which is number 1.
So you're moving an amendment to,
Well, I apologize. I should have, when I asked for a motion, I should have stipulated that the motion include. So who,
well,
moved?
I
So who,
didn't, yeah.
you,
I
oh,
just-
so Barb moved and seconded. So Barb's, do you want us to go through the amendment process? Or do you want to,
No, that's fine if
Barb.
council's okay with that.
Yeah.
As the mover, I would like to select option 1,
Okay.
opt in principle
Right.
to the hybrid planning model. And if that's
Forget, Jim,
acceptable
did you
to-
second? Jim's good with that? Okay, so the motion is on the floor to opt in at this point. We will, as you can read in the report, we do have the ability, once the numbers are determined, to opt out at that point if we so choose. So this is not the,
Be all and end all.
yeah.
Yeah.
Martin, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just gonna, thanks for confirming that. You know, if we opt in, at least that gives the figures to the county, if I'm correct in saying that. So then they can, their bean counters can look at it all, do that, do this, do this. And if we don't like what they come up with, we have the right to say, no, that's not what we expected.
Correct.
Thank you. So that's fine by me. I'll
Okay, thank you, Martin. Any other discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the Municipal Housing Enabling Core Services Transfer Payment Agreement. Someone care to move receipt of that? Jim, thank you. And Joan? Jim?
Another fortunate win for us in securing this grant for Osprey Street North for road rehabilitation that coincides with the new school build and what's required, the handling of the traffic and the other infrastructure supporting the school in the external part of work. So almost 2.1 million of a grant. So this is just executing the agreement now.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions? Seeing any? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Those kinds of reports are always pleasant to get. Moving on to the bylaw to actually enable the transfer payment to us. Jason will move, Martin will second. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Jim. We have no bylaws or motions to deal with. Is there any notice of motion? Not seeing any. The consent items are there. We'll start with the regular business for information. Does anyone wish any of those removed for further discussion? Okay. So the motion is to receive those items as listed. Sure. But I need a mover and seconder first to receive them. Barb will move, Martin will second. Comments? Barb?
I just through you with regard to 11.1.3 clerk 2025-012 overview of strong mayor powers. I want to thank Lindsay and the clerks for the summary. It clears up some questions, but raises others. And the numbers, I'm not sure how you're going to track whether majority is 3, whether we count as 7, but we're only 5 present. You know, if you're not here, you forfeit the right to vote. Like, I don't understand that language about your considered quorum is based on your 7 people, whether or not the 7 are there. And maybe I've misread it, but
No, you haven't.
I'm sure that there's going to be more coming forward, but if it's a 1/3 is 3 members and if it's a strong mayor power, it's only 3 required, but we require 4 to pass a regular motion. And then if it's a 2/3 vote, it's 5. It totally, you're the one who's going to have to keep track of it for us because I can't do the math on it. And the powers regarding meetings and bylaws, we just spent hours and you just spent days developing a procedural bylaw and a strong mayor. And I know that our mayor has already declared in the paper, you know, didn't ask for them, don't want them. But a future mayor, someone in the future who runs in 2026 for that power, just overrides the procedural bylaw that we just spent hours developing. It boggles my mind the lack of democracy that's at play here. And I know that I'm not speaking for anyone else, but I do know that it's felt across the board, not just here in Southgate, or Grey County. It is a scary thing that a path that we're going down. So I'll look forward to more education on it.
Thank you, Barb. Yeah, as Barb indicated, I have no interest in using these powers as they're described. And so we'll see where it goes, but I think there is a lot of clarification that needs further from the province. Absolutely. There are some lessons to be learned, indeed. Okay. Any further comments on those 5 or 6 items on that agenda?
Yes, Chair.
Oh, go ahead, Monica, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Just to the point of the strong mayor powers, I know that there are municipalities that are writing into the province asking for it to be rescinded. I'm just wondering if that's something that of interest and if that's something that might be coming down. Because I agree, I have concerns about the democratic process of the strong mayor powers, and it is being felt. Just, I guess
I guess I would say to that, I mean, again, I'm in council's hands, whatever they want to do. The strong mayor powers, at least the last tranche of 169 municipalities came into effect on May the 1st. A number of municipalities have had these powers now for, I don't know, 3 years, something like that, when they first started this. They haven't, the province, I mean, has not backed up to this point. I doubt whether a letter from, well, any municipality really is going to change their mind. Perhaps a delegation to one of our conferences may, be helpful, but this seems to be the path that the province is interested in going down, and here we are. Barb?
Through you, and I believe that you can't refuse them. They're there for you to take advantage of. And you can delegate a mayor, not you, anyone, a mayor can delegate their authority for those strong mayor powers back to council and to staff. But from everything that I can find is that we can't refuse them entirely. And I guess it comes down to, let the voter beware of who the next mayor is, I guess, because things can change fast. So, yeah, I'll leave it into our mayor's and clerk's hand as to whether or not they send a formal response to the province about our position, and whether or not do we need to have, and it would be the mayor, it's not council, who would delegate that authority back.
Madam Clerk.
I'll maybe just add to your point, Mayor Milne, I don't believe sending a letter to the province at this point. They've enacted it. I really don't think that's going to make a difference. We can do that, but I really don't think it will. And to the deputy mayor's point, this isn't legislation that you can just say no to. There is certain administrative functions. The mayor has said that he's not interested in it. So he will have to delegate certain aspects, the budget and other things, back to council and staff so that we continue to function as normal. We can't just leave it. It's now in place. It's legislated. So there is some administrative things we'll need to work through to kind of revert back to normal, but there is also some processes that will change as a result. At this point, it's preliminary. It's a interesting piece of legislation that we're trying to work through at our clerk's level. So there will be more information coming forward, but yeah, even for me to try to wrap my head around some aspects of it is challenging. So more to come, but yeah, to Monica's point, or Councillor Singsor, sorry, I don't believe there'd be a need to send a letter to the province, but if council wishes we do that, that's fine too.
Okay. Okay, so the motion has been made to receive these 6 items. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the correspondence consent agenda, there are 4 items there. Does anyone wish any of those 4 to be removed for further direction? Not seeing any, I'll take a motion to receive all 4 from someone. Martin, thank you. And Jim, thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Resolutions from other municipalities on the consent agenda. There is one there from the town of Georgina regarding salt management. Someone care to move that, or does anyone wish it removed first? No. Okay. Joan will move and Jim will second. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. County report. The one thing that I would mention is last Friday, the 2nd of May, the county had a small affair for mainly staff, but there were some counselors there to witness the retirement of the CAO, Kim Wingrove. She had served 9.5, almost 10 years in that capacity. It was a tough event to get through because I have a lot of respect for her, as most people do, as I would hazard all people do. But she will be missed. However, Mr. Schertzer, Randy, is the new CEO, and he will do a tremendous job for us in the future. So that's what I have. Barb, did you have anything else? No? Okay. Did anybody have any questions regarding county business? Nope. Okay. Members' privilege, good news and celebrations. Anybody have anything they wish to? Monica, please.
Hi, thank you, Chair, for that. Just wanted to mention that today actually marks World Maternal Mental Health Day, reminding us to support mothers that come in various forms, and not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, especially as we approach Mother's Day this weekend. Just want to wish all Township of Southgate and beyond a very wonderful, happy Mother's Day. And just honoring all the different journeys of motherhood with compassion and care. And also May is also Asian Heritage Month, which is a time to celebrate the contributions of Asian Canadians. So I'm just proud to continue to stand for inclusion and representation in our community and get out there and, have some really great food. Just wanted to wish everyone that.
Thank you, Monica. Joan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say we just wrap up the Tim Hortons Smile Cookie Week. Thanks to the mayor and the deputy mayor who came out and helped to decorate the cookies. And the proceed of the Smile Cookie will be going to the Junction Community Initiative and also one of our local schools here. So that was a great week. And on Sunday, we had International Women's Day, which was also another great event, having the women from in the community coming out and getting together. So thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor, for being a part of that.
Thank you, Joan. And for myself to suggest that I was there to decorate anything was a bit of a stretch. I did my best. Some of the cookies had a smile, some maybe didn't have as much of a smile, but we tried, we did our best, or I did anyway. I know probably Barb's cookies were a lot better decorated than mine ever were. So anything else? Okay. We do have a closed meeting this morning to deal with. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at 11:26 in order to address matters relating to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, specifically a litigation update, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically risk mitigation. And the third item was?
Personal matters about an identifiable individual, which is an HR update.
Okay, thank you so much. And that all those required remain in attendance. Who would care to move that? Barb, and second by Martin. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Yeah, we'll recess for a few minutes and then we'll go into closed session. Okay, we're back in open session and I can declare that we only discussed those matters that were on the closed meeting agenda. Confirming bylaw. Jim and Jason, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. One motion remaining to adjourn. Monica and Jim, all those in favor?